The twin suns of Zithra were sinking behind jagged mountains, casting long shadows over the city of Lirath, the gleaming capital of the planet. The streets were quiet, a rare calm for the usually bustling city, as Princess Liara walked along the balcony of the royal palace. She loved this time of day, when the air was warm but not too hot, and the hum of the city seemed to soften into a gentle lull. Her silver hair caught the last rays of sunlight, and she let her mind wander, thinking about the upcoming diplomatic mission to the frontier territories. Liara was not like most royalty. She did not enjoy the pomp of ceremonies, nor the endless meetings filled with protocol and tradition. Her heart thrived on adventure, exploration, and learning. She had studied alien languages, technology, and even the cultures of distant worlds. Her people loved her for her intelligence and bravery, and her father, King Theron, trusted her with delicate matters of state. As she gazed toward the horizon, a sudden commotion in the palace courtyard caught her attention. Guards rushed past, their armor clinking, voices tense but hurried. Lyra frowned and turned back inside. A message had arrived from the frontier outpost near the edge of Zethera's territory. The scouts had reported unusual activity, a series of energy readings that suggested someone or something had entered the border zone without permission. Normally, this would have been handled by security teams, but Lyra felt a pull to investigate herself. By nightfall, she was aboard her sleek shuttle, leaving the safety of Liath behind. The shuttle's engines purred softly as it cut through the thin atmosphere of Zithera, heading toward the frontier mountains. Liara had selected only a small team of elite guards, each skilled in survival, diplomacy, and combat. Yet, even with them, she felt a thrill of nervous excitement. She was stepping into unknown territory, away from the familiar streets and gleaming towers of her home. The journey took hours. The shuttle glided silently over rough terrain, following the energy readings that had prompted her mission. Liara studied the instruments carefully. The readings were unusual, spikes of energy that did not match any known technology of her people. Whoever or whatever had created them had access to advanced equipment, yet it seemed crude in design. That combination puzzled her. As the shuttle approached a canyon, the readings spiked dramatically. Lyra's heart beat faster. "Prepare for landing," she commanded. The shuttle descended, carefully navigating the rocky cliffs. When it touched down, she stepped outside, feeling the chill of the evening air. The landscape was rugged and wild, unlike the structured cities she was used to. Jagged rocks, strange glowing plants, and swirling dust clouds filled her vision. Her guards spread out, scanning the area with sensors and energy detectors. Liara followed them, her senses alert. They moved carefully along a narrow path, and soon they came across the source of the readings, a small, metallic device, half buried in the dirt. It pulsed softly, emitting a faint blue glow. Before anyone could examine it further, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Rocks tumbled from the cliffs, and a loud roar echoed through the canyon. Lyra instinctively pulled her guards close. Out of the shadows emerged figures, alien beings she did not recognize. They were tall, lean, with sharp features and armor that shimmered under the twin suns. Their eyes were cold and calculating. Liara's instincts screamed danger. "Princess Liara!" one of them said in a voice both smooth and threatening. "You should not have come here." Liara stepped forward, trying to appear calm. "Who are you, and what do you want?" she demanded. Her hand hovered near the energy blade at her side. The alien studied her for a moment before replying, "We are the Seraph. You interfere where you should not. Come with us, or face the consequences." Liara knew retreat was impossible. The Seraph were faster and stronger than her team. They had weapons that could disable her guards instantly. She had no choice but to act quickly. "Guards, form a defensive perimeter!" she shouted. A brief skirmish erupted. The Seraph advanced with precision, forcing Lyra's team to fall back. In the chaos, Liara was separated from her guards. She sprinted into a narrow gorge, hoping to find cover. The energy readings flared on her wrist device. showing she was moving away from her shuttle and the rest of her team. Panic rose, but she forced herself to focus. She had survived worse situations before. She could survive this, too. The canyon twisted and turned, leading her deeper into uncharted territory. The Seraph seemed to lose interest in pursuing her directly, as if they were after something else. Perhaps the device she had discovered. Liara realized that if she wanted to escape, she would need to find shelter and think fast. The canyon opened into a small clearing, where she spotted a strange structure. It was not an alien construction she recognized. It was crude, made of fabric, wood, and scavenged metal, a makeshift tent. Cautiously, she approached. A human. A young man with rough clothing and a curious expression peeked out from inside. He froze, startled, as he saw her. Liara raised her hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm not here to harm you," she said softly. "I need shelter, and I mean no trouble." "You're lucky I didn't run. Come in." Quickly. Lara slipped inside the tent. The interior was small and simple, but it offered protection from the cold wind and jagged rocks outside. She glanced at the human. "I am Princess Liara of Zithara," she said. "I am being pursued. Can you help me?" The human's eyes widened. You're
one of them? A Zitharan?" He gestured to a rough seat, and Liara sat cautiously.
"I don't know why anyone would be chasing you, but we have some food and warmth. You can stay hidden here for now." Liara nodded, grateful for the unexpected kindness. She studied the tent's interior. The human had collected scraps from the surrounding land, tools, containers, and even small machines he had cobbled together. Despite the primitive appearance, the ingenuity was impressive. Liara could see how humans, despite their simple technology, adapted quickly to survive. As night fell, Liara and the human, who introduced himself as Jace, talked quietly. He asked questions about her world, and she answered cautiously, careful not to reveal too much. In turn, she learned about him, a mechanic and explorer, living on the frontier, far from the comforts of human cities. He had built the tent and devices from scratch, surviving on his wits and creativity. Liara felt a spark of admiration for him. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and resilient. In this tent, far from her home, she realized she had found an unlikely ally. Hours passed and the twin moons rose high in the sky. Liara listened to the wind outside, thinking about what had happened. She had escaped the Seraph, but only barely. Her team was lost somewhere in the canyon, and the mysterious device she had discovered could not fall into the wrong hands. She had much to do and little time. Yet for the first time, she felt hope. In the midst of danger, she had found shelter, safety, and a potential friend. Jace had shown her that humans were more than primitive creatures. They were clever, brave, and capable of extraordinary things. As she drifted into a light sleep, Liara's mind raced with possibilities. The Seraph would not give up easily. The device pulsing in the canyon could hold secrets that might change the balance of power in the galaxy. And the frontier world itself was full of dangers she had yet to face. But for now, she was safe. And tomorrow she would begin her next move. Liara did not know it yet, but this encounter with Jace would mark the start of an adventure that would challenge her understanding of loyalty, courage, and the surprising power of humans. The galaxy was about to witness an alliance unlike any it had ever seen, and the seeds of that alliance were already planted in a small makeshift tent at the edge of Zethara's wild frontier. The night was quiet, but the air was electric with anticipation. Somewhere beyond the mountains, the Seraph were gathering, planning their next move. Somewhere beyond the stars, other forces were watching, waiting for the moment to strike. And, somewhere in the tent, a princess and a human were preparing, unknowingly, to change the course of history.
Liara opened her eyes one last time before sleep claimed her completely.
She looked at Jace, who had fallen asleep on a small cot, exhausted from his day of work and vigilance. A faint smile crossed her lips. For the first time, she felt the possibility of hope. even in the midst of uncertainty. And the adventure was only beginning. Morning came slowly over the rocky frontier. The twin suns rose, casting pale golden light across the jagged cliffs and strange plants of the canyon. Inside the small tent, Princess Liara stirred. Her body was stiff from the cold night, but her mind was alert. She had slept lightly, aware that danger could strike at any moment. The Seraph had not given up, and she knew they would not. Jace was already awake, crouched near a small fire he had built. Smoke curled upward, and the faint smell of toasted roots and dried meat filled the tent. He glanced at Liara with a faint, tired smile. Morning.
You slept better than I thought you would. Liara managed a small smile in return.
Better than I could outside, that is certain, she said. She stretched carefully, feeling the stiffness in her limbs.
We need to talk about what happened last night and about what comes next.
Jace nodded. I figured as much.
You're in deep trouble, Princess. Whoever those Seraph were, they're not here to chat.
They want something, and I don't think it's just about you. Lyra frowned. The device we found. It was designed to pulse with energy patterns I have never seen. Whoever controls it could manipulate entire systems, communications, power grids, even starship navigation. If the Seraph have it, or if they want it, it could be disastrous for Zythera and beyond. Jace scratched his head. So that's why they were chasing you. They think you know how to use it? Yes, Liara replied, but more importantly, they know I could hide it or disable it. They cannot risk leaving it in my hands. She paused, then studied Jace. I need your help. You know this land better than anyone. Wow, I need to find a safe place where I can understand this device and plan my next move.
Jace hesitated.
Humans were taught to respect Zytherans, but few had ever met a royal in person. Yet something about Lyra inspired confidence. He saw her intelligence, her courage, and her determination. He also realized the danger of refusing her. All right, he said finally. We'll need more than this tent. I know a place, a cave system a few miles east of here. It's hidden, even from most sensors, and I can get us there before anyone notices. But you'll have to move fast, Lyra nodded. Then we have no time to lose. They packed the essentials, a few tools, food rations, and the mysterious device that had drawn the Seraph. Lyra tucked it securely into her satchel. Its pulse was faint but constant, almost as if it had a heartbeat of its own. The journey across the canyon was treacherous. Sharp rocks jutted from the ground, and loose gravel made each step dangerous. Liara moved carefully, her training keeping her balance, while Jace scouted ahead, leading the way with surprising agility. Despite the rugged terrain, Liara was impressed. Humans were clever, adaptable, and fearless in ways her people often underestimated. As they walked, Liara asked questions. Why do you live out here, Jace? This land is dangerous, and it's far from any city. I like being free. Out here, I rely on my own skills. I build, I fix, I survive. The cities.
They're full of rules, politics, people who don't care about what really matters. Out here, I make my own rules.
Lyra studied him closely. His confidence was quiet, but it was real. G realized that humans thrived in unpredictability. They did not always have the technology or resources her people had, but they compensated with creativity and courage. Hours passed as they navigated narrow ridges and hidden valleys. The Seraph did not appear, but Liara could sense their presence through subtle energy traces. They were close, patient, calculating. It was a game of cat and mouse, and she had to stay one step ahead. By midday, they reached a river cutting through the canyon. Its water was clear but icy, and crossing it was tricky. Jace assessed the river carefully. We'll go upstream.
There's a narrow bridge of rocks over there. Step carefully and don't rush.
Lyra followed his lead, placing each foot carefully on slippery stones. Her pulse quickened as the water rushed beneath them, but she trusted Jace's guidance. Humans might be fragile, she thought, but they were precise and clever when it mattered. On the far side, they paused to rest. Liara pulled the device from her bag and studied it. Its surface was smooth, metallic, with faint lines of glowing energy tracing circuits across it. "It's alive in a sense," she murmured. "It responds to energy, movement," even thought. Perhaps whoever created this had an understanding of forces most civilizations lack. Jace leaned closer, examining it. "Looks like some kind of control system, but I don't recognize the tech. It's not human. Not entirely. Whoever made it had skills we don't usually see out here."
"Exactly. That's why the Seraph want it."
"And that's why I must keep it safe." They continued their journey, moving through rocky passes, narrow ledges, and shadowed valleys. As night approached, they reached the hidden cave system Jace had mentioned. The entrance was cleverly concealed behind a curtain of vines and rocks. Inside, it opened into a wide cavern, lit by natural phosphorescent crystals embedded in the walls. The soft glow gave the space an otherworldly feel, perfect for secrecy.
"This will do for now," Jace said, setting up a small fire. "No one will find us here, at least not easily."
"We can rest, plan, and, if necessary, fight."
Liara set the device carefully on a flat rock.
Its pulsing light filled the cavern, casting moving shadows. "We need to understand this. If we can figure out how it works, we might use it to protect ourselves. Or at least keep it from the Seraph." Jace nodded. "We'll start with what we know. I can analyze the outer casing, the circuits, the energy flow. You seem to know more about alien tech than anyone I've met.
Maybe together we can figure it out."
Over the next few hours, they worked. Jace dismantled portions of the device with careful hands, his human ingenuity showing in every step. He improvised tools, using rocks, wires, and heat to test circuits. Liara guided him, explaining patterns of energy, alien symbols, and technological logic. As they worked, a strange bond formed. Liara began to see humans not as primitive beings, but as capable, inventive, and courageous. Jace began to see that this princess, despite her elegance and power, was also clever, resourceful, and determined. Together they formed a team neither could have imagined. When they first met, suddenly, a soft vibration shook the cavern floor. Lyra's eyes snapped to the entrance. The Seraph were close. They had tracked them, somehow sensing the device's energy. Jace stiffened. "We're not alone."
"They know we're here." Liara assessed their options.
The cave had multiple tunnels, but most were narrow and winding. "We need to prepare traps," she said quickly. "If they come in, we'll have a chance to fight them off, or at least slow them down." Jace smiled faintly, a mix of excitement and determination in his eyes. "Good."
"I like a challenge." They worked together, setting simple but clever traps.
Rocks suspended on vines, tripwires, and hidden pitfalls made the cave a dangerous place for any intruder. Liara studied the tunnels, memorizing every turn and shadow. Humans had ingenuity, yes, but she had strategy and foresight. Together, they were stronger than any single force. As night fell, they took turns keeping watch. Liara thought about her people back in Lirath, about the device, and about the Seraph. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers, but also full of potential allies. And perhaps, just perhaps, humans could be one of those allies. Hours passed, but the Seraph did not appear. Liara realized that they were patient, likely observing from afar, waiting for the perfect moment. She turned to Jace. "We cannot stay hidden forever. Eventually, we'll need to leave. We must plan our next move carefully." Jace nodded. "I agree. But tonight we rest. Tomorrow we figure out how to get ahead of them." Liara closed her eyes for a moment, letting herself breathe. She had survived so far because of her training, her wits, and now because of a human she barely knew. The world was changing, and she could feel it. The alliance forming here, in this hidden cave, could change the balance of power in ways no one had anticipated. Outside, the wind whispered through the rocks, carrying hints of danger and opportunity. Inside, a princess and a human worked side by side, united by necessity, curiosity, and a shared determination to survive. The adventure was far from over, and both knew that the next step would test their courage, intelligence, and trust in ways neither could yet imagine. But for now, in the quiet glow of the phosphorescent crystals, they prepared for the battles ahead, unaware that the galaxy was watching and waiting for what would happen next. The next morning, the light of the twin suns crept into the hidden cave, painting the walls in soft gold and silver. Liara stirred, alert immediately. She had slept lightly as always, knowing that the Seraph would not wait forever. Jace was already awake, examining the traps they had set the previous night. He adjusted a few, tightening the ropes and resetting rocks that had shifted.
"We can't stay here much longer," Liara said, stepping over to the main tunnel. "The Seraph are patient."
"They will find a way in eventually." Jace nodded. "I know. But we've slowed them down before. We can do it again." He gestured toward the device. "If we can figure out even a part of this, maybe we can turn the tables on them. Right now, we're running. But maybe we can fight smart instead of running blind."
Liara smiled faintly. His confidence was contagious.
"You may be right. Let's see what we can do." They worked through the morning, examining the device and trying to understand its energy patterns. Liara noticed that it reacted not just to movement or proximity, but to intention. It was as if the device could sense who held it, who wanted it, and how it would be used. She realized this made it incredibly valuable and dangerous in the wrong hands. Suddenly, a faint vibration echoed through the cavern floor. Liara's eyes snapped to the shadows near the entrance.
"They're coming," she whispered.
Jace stiffened, already moving toward the prepared traps. Outside, the Seraph emerged from the canyon, silent and precise.
Their armor shimmered in the sunlight, and their weapons glinted with energy. They did not rush. They had learned patience. They would not make a mistake. Inside the cave, Liara and Jace readied themselves. They had mapped every corner, every tunnel, every potential escape route. The Seraph might be strong, but they were predictable if one knew the land. The first Seraph entered the cavern cautiously. A trap set by Jace, a heavy rock suspended on a rope, fell from above, knocking the alien back and startling its companions. Liara acted immediately, activating a small energy pulse from the device to confuse their sensors. The lights in the cave flickered, creating shadows and illusions. The Seraph hissed in frustration. They had not anticipated such clever tactics from what they considered a primitive human and a single princess. Jace moved quickly, using his knowledge of the cave's layout to force the Seraph into narrow tunnels. There, their size and armor became a disadvantage. Liara directed him, combining strategy and improvisation. One of the Seraph lunged toward Liara, its weapon crackling with energy. She ducked, rolling to the side, and used a piece of jagged rock to redirect a burst of energy from the alien's weapon toward the wall. Sparks flew, and the blast stunned two nearby attackers. Liara's movements were precise, careful, and confident. She was not just surviving, she was fighting intelligently. Meanwhile, Jace had found a small alcove in the cavern where he could operate more freely. He rigged a series of energy reflectors using scraps of metal and crystal. When the next Seraph entered, their weapons' energy beams bounced harmlessly off the reflectors, confusing them and giving Liara space to maneuver. Despite the chaos, they maintained communication. Liara pointed out weak points in the Seraph formation, while Jace improvised more traps. Together they moved with surprising efficiency, a team formed by necessity, but strengthened by mutual respect. After an intense skirmish, the Seraph retreated temporarily. Lyra and Jace knew it was not a victory, merely a pause. The Seraph would return, and next time they would come with more numbers and better preparation. Liara examined the device again, her mind racing. We cannot just defend ourselves forever. We need to move it somewhere safe, somewhere they cannot track us. Jace, do you know anywhere we could go beyond the canyon? Jace thought for a moment. There's an abandoned research station further east. It's old, but it's shielded by natural rock formations. I've explored it before. If we can get the device there, we can analyze it safely and maybe even use it to turn the chase around. Liara nodded. Then we move tonight. We cannot wait any longer. They prepared carefully. The Seraph could appear at any moment, so every movement had to be precise. Jace carried a small pack with tools and supplies, while Lara kept the device close, aware of its faint pulsing as if urging her forward. As night fell, they slipped quietly from the cave. The canyon was dangerous, shadows hiding potential threats. Liara's senses were heightened, and she noticed subtle changes in the energy readings of the Seraph. They were being tracked. The journey was tense. Every sound, the crunch of gravel underfoot, the distant howl of a canyon predator, the whisper of wind through the rocks, could signal danger. Liara and Jace moved carefully, using the terrain to their advantage. They climbed over rocky ledges, crawled through narrow passages, and avoided open areas where the Seraph could spot them from above. At one point, a patrol of Seraph passed near a ridge above them. Liara froze, signaling Jace to do the same. They pressed against the rocks, holding their breath as the aliens scanned below. Minutes felt like hours, but the patrol moved on, oblivious to their presence. Liara exhaled slowly, her heart pounding. Finally, after hours of careful movement, they reached the edge of a plateau. Below, hidden by dense vegetation and rocks, lay the abandoned research station Jace had mentioned. It was old, partially collapsed, but structurally sound. Most importantly, it was hidden from long-range sensors and difficult to access for large forces.
This is it,
Jace whispered. We can rest here, and tomorrow we can figure out what to do with the device. Liara carefully carried the device down a narrow path leading to the station. Its pulsing light seemed to respond to her presence, almost as if it recognized her as a protector. She marveled at the human's adaptability. Jace had found this safe haven where she would never have thought to look. Inside, the station was dusty, but intact. Old equipment lined the walls, and broken consoles hinted at experiments from long ago. Liara began examining the space, thinking of ways to secure the device. Jace reinforced weak areas, barricading entrances with metal and rocks. Together, they turned the station into a temporary fortress. Hours passed as they worked. Liara began to analyze the device, noting its patterns and energy flows. She realized it could interface with technology, controlling or disrupting systems within a certain radius. If used correctly, it could protect them. If used incorrectly, it could attract the Seraph even faster. Jace looked at her with admiration.
You really understand this stuff. I've never seen anyone read energy patterns like that.
It is not only understanding, it is observation, logic, and caution.
We cannot afford mistakes. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying the faint echo of movement in the canyon below.
Liara stiffened. They are still out there. Watching, waiting.
Jace nodded. We can't fight them all at once.
But with this, he gestured toward the device, and our brains, we can at least stay ahead. They spent the rest of the night preparing. Liara used the device to create energy barriers that masked their location, while Jace rigged additional traps around the perimeter. They moved silently, coordinating their efforts. By dawn, they had created a small fortress, blending human ingenuity and alien technology. As the suns rose, Liara and Jace took a moment to catch their breath. They had survived another night, but the challenge was far from over. The Seraph would not give up, and the device still held secrets they had yet to unlock. Liara looked at Jace.
I did not expect to trust a human so quickly, she admitted. Jace grinned. I didn't expect to work with a princess who could fight like a warrior and think like a strategist. Guess we both surprised each other.
Liara allowed herself a small laugh, tension easing slightly. They were allies now, bound by circumstance and mutual respect, and together they had a chance, not just to survive, but to change the course of the pursuit entirely. But even as they planned their next move, the faint pulse of the device reminded Lyra that time was short. The Seraph would return, more cunning and more determined than ever, and when they did, only strategy, courage, and ingenuity would determine the outcome. The adventure was far from over. Liara and Jace stood ready, knowing that the next steps could shape not only their fate, but the future of the galaxy. And for the first time, Liara realized that humans, unexpected, unpredictable, and ingenious, could be the allies she had always needed. The horizon was bright with the light of twin suns, but shadows lingered, hiding dangers yet to come. And deep inside the abandoned station, a princess and a human prepared, ready to face whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. The suns of Zathera were high in the sky, their light blazing across the rocky frontier. Princess Liara and Jace had spent the night preparing, reinforcing the abandoned research station and studying the mysterious device. Its faint pulsing had become almost hypnotic, a reminder of the danger and power it contained. The Seraph were still out there, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Liara adjusted the device carefully. "We cannot keep hiding forever," she said. "We have to move strategically, or all of our efforts so far will be wasted." Jace studied the maps he had drawn of the surrounding canyon. "I think I see a way. There's a narrow pass a few miles north, and from there we can reach a neutral outpost. It's officially unclaimed. No Seraph patrols, no Zitharan military presence. If we can get there, we can call for reinforcements and maybe use the device safely." Lyra nodded. "Then that is our plan. But we must move carefully. They will be ready for us." They left the station at dusk, moving quickly through the canyon. The terrain was rugged, full of narrow ledges, loose rocks, and deep shadows. Every step was calculated, every movement silent. The Seraph were close. Liara could sense the faint energy traces that hinted at their presence. As they navigated a tight ridge, the first wave of Seraph appeared. Their armor glimmered under the fading light, and their weapons hummed with energy. They moved silently, efficient and deadly. Liara and Jace froze, waiting for the right moment. When the Seraph advanced, Jace triggered one of their traps. A series of rocks tumbled down the slope, blocking part of the path and forcing the Seraph to adjust. Liara activated the device, sending a pulse of energy that distorted their sensors. Shadows flickered, creating illusions that confused the attackers and slowed their advance. The Seraph roared in frustration. They had underestimated humans and their adaptability. They had also underestimated Lyra, who combined strategy, courage, and alien technology to outmaneuver them. Lyra moved forward, guiding Jace through the safest path. They ducked behind rocks, climbed over jagged ledges, and used every trick they had at their disposal. The Seraph pursued, relentless and precise, but they were being funneled into areas where the terrain gave Liara and Jace the advantage. At one point, a Seraph blocked their path. Lyra's heart raced, but she stayed calm. Using the device, she created a small pulse of energy that destabilized the alien's weapon, forcing it to drop. Jace seized the moment, using a rope to trip the Seraph and send it tumbling down the slope. It landed heavily, stunned but alive. Liara and Jace continued, never stopping, moving toward the neutral outpost. Hours passed, and exhaustion set in. Liara's legs ached, and Jace's hands were raw from climbing and setting traps. Yet neither faltered. Their trust in each other had grown, and together they were stronger than any challenge the Seraph could present. Finally, the neutral outpost came into view. It was an old, fortified station, abandoned for decades, but still structurally sound. Its walls were made of reinforced stone and metal, offering protection and a vantage point over the surrounding canyon. Liara and Jace slipped inside, securing the entrances and preparing for the final confrontation. The Seraph arrived moments later. They had followed every move, driven by determination and obsession. But this time, Liara and Jace were ready. Lyra positioned the device at the center of the outpost, its pulsing energy creating a protective barrier around them. Jace rigged additional traps and barricades, turning the station into a fortress. The Seraph advanced cautiously, wary of the clever tactics they had already encountered. Liara spoke quietly to Jace. "We can do this. We need to hold them until reinforcements arrive." Jace nodded, determination shining in his eyes.
"We're not just surviving anymore. We're fighting smart," the battle began.
The Seraph moved quickly, but Lyra and Jace were faster. Rocks fell, energy pulses flashed, and shadows danced as the device distorted the attacker's perception. Liara's strategy combined with Jace's improvisation created chaos for the Seraph, turning their precision against them. One Seraph tried to flank them from the side, but Jace had anticipated it. He triggered a hidden trap, sending the alien stumbling into a narrow corridor where it could do little. Liara used the device to disrupt the remaining attackers' sensors, making them hesitate and giving her the advantage. The battle was intense but brief. The Seraph, unable to adapt to the combined ingenuity of human and princess, began to retreat. They hissed in frustration, realizing they could not defeat two determined opponents using clever tactics and resourcefulness. As the last Seraph fled, Lyra and Jace stood together, catching their breath. The device continued to pulse softly, now under their control. Lyra examined it carefully, noting how its energy flowed and stabilized. She had learned enough to understand its potential and its dangers. Jace looked at her, a mix of admiration and relief in his eyes. "We did it. We actually did it." Liara nodded, a small smile crossing her face. "Yes."
"But this is only the beginning."
"The Seraph will return if they can. We must secure the device and ensure it never falls into the wrong hands."
At that moment, communication arrived from the neutral outpost's command network. They had detected unusual energy readings and confirmed the Seraph's presence.
Reinforcements from both human and Zithran authorities were dispatched immediately. Liara allowed herself a moment of relief. She had survived, protected the device, and forged an alliance with a human who had proven himself clever, brave, and resourceful. The bond they had formed was stronger than any expectation she had held. When the reinforcements arrived, they quickly assessed the situation. Lyra and Jace explained the Seraph's intentions and the importance of the device. The commanders listened, impressed by their ingenuity and bravery. With the combined forces, they secured the area, ensuring that the Seraph could not return without significant risk. Liara turned to Jace. "You have proven humans are not just adaptable. They are courageous, clever, and capable of extraordinary things. I am grateful for your help, and I want the galaxy to know that humans can be allies, not just observers."
Jace smiled, humbled but proud.
"I've always known humans can surprise you, but working with you, that was something else."
I didn't think a princess and a human could take on an alien force and win.
Liara laughed softly. "We did not just win. We showed that cooperation and trust can achieve what strength alone cannot." The galaxy should take note. In the following days, Liara returned to Zithara with the device secured. She met with the Royal Council, explaining the events and emphasizing the importance of forming alliances with humans. Her father, King Theron, was impressed by her courage, judgment, and the wisdom she had gained from working with Jace. Jace remained on the frontier, but he received a message from Lyra inviting him to visit Zithara officially. She wanted him to share his knowledge, teach humans and Zitharans how to collaborate, and help prepare for future challenges. The Seraph threat had been repelled, the device was secured, and an unexpected bond between species had been forged. Liara had discovered that courage, ingenuity, and trust were universal traits, not bound by planet, culture, or species. As she looked out over the horizon from the palace balcony, Liara reflected on the adventure. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and wonders, but also full of potential allies. Humans, she realized, were more than capable of rising to the challenges of the universe. Their adaptability, creativity, and courage could change the course of history. And perhaps most importantly, Lyra had learned that leadership was not just about power, it was about trust, collaboration, and the willingness to step into the unknown with courage. Far across the stars, Jace worked on new inventions, inspired by the experience and the knowledge that he had helped shape an alliance that could last for generations. Humans and Zitherans, once distant and wary of each other, now had the beginnings of a partnership that would change the galaxy forever. The device, now secured in Zithra's vault, continued to pulse softly, a reminder of the adventure, the danger, and the victory achieved through ingenuity and cooperation. It had been a test, and Lyra and Jace had passed with flying colors. The twin suns of Zithira shone brightly over the city of Lyrath, casting long shadows over streets and towers. The people went about their lives, unaware of the battle that had been fought, the dangers that had been averted, and the unlikely friendship that had formed in a small makeshift tent on the frontier. But Lyra knew. She remembered every moment, the fear, the strategy, the teamwork, and the courage that had carried them through. And she knew that the galaxy was a better place because humans had stepped up when it mattered most. The adventure had ended, but the story of cooperation, courage, and hope would echo across the stars. Liara had returned home a stronger leader, wiser and more determined to build a galaxy where alliances were forged through trust, not fear, and where humans and aliens could stand together against any threat. And somewhere on the frontier, Jace looked at the horizon, thinking of the princess, the device, and the adventure that had changed both their lives. He smiled, knowing that humans, though often underestimated, had the power to rise above the impossible. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and wonders, but Liara and Jace had proven that intelligence, courage, and ingenuity could overcome even the greatest obstacles, and that was a lesson worth remembering for humans, Zitherans, and all species across the stars. The sun set slowly, bathing the land in gold and purple. The adventure was over, but the legacy of bravery, cleverness, and cooperation would continue, shaping the galaxy for generations to come.